You are tuned in to the High at 9 News Hour, where you will hear from cannabis industry experts and professionals from around the country talk about important topics while shining light on global issues and discussing cannabis as it relates to politics, regulation and reform, data and technology, science, research and medicine, family and parenting, art, celebs and entertainment, fitness, sports, mental health and wellness, and plant-based medicines and enthogenics. Together, we are building a stronger community, fighting the stigma and creating change. With your hosts, Jason Beck, Rico Lamitte, and Nicole West, joined by special industry expert correspondents from around the country and daily antics brought to you by Cannabis. Coming to you live Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific Time. Thank you for getting high at 9 with us.
Are we good?
Yeah.
All right. What's happening, everybody? Good morning and welcome back. It's Tuesday, 8th. My name is Rico Lamitte, the dopest dad in the street, and you are now getting high at 9, but also high noon on the East Coast. Today is many days to people, but nationally, it's National STEM Day, also STEAM Day, National Harvey Wallbanger Day, National Cappuccino Day, and National Parents as Teachers Day. To all you guys that stay home with the babies and, celebrate the youth. They are the future, as Whitney Houston said. But please remember to like, share, and subscribe to us on all social media platforms. We're live on weekdays on YouTube and Twitch, audio only on Clubhouse. And if you're in the Clubhouse, you can also join the conversation by raising your hand if you have a brief comment on the story presented. We'll be getting things rolling here in just a minute. But first, a message from our sponsors.
At True Classic OG, we live by one motto: stay true. We stay true to our legacy cut of True OG that's always fresh, piney, gassy, and delicious. We represent the spirit, hustle, and diversity of our great city of Angels, and we stay true to the spirit of this plant, doing everything in-house to ensure that you get the highest quality and consistency with every batch. And that's what's made us LA's favorite OG. True Classic OG. Stay true, Los Angeles.
And up first, today is the longest continuously operating retailer in the industry with an affinity for smoking the best weed in the world every damn day. Known to the Mar-a-Lago staff as Gucci Blanco. The hustlers out in Detroit, White Gucci. And anyone in West Hollywood considering cannabis tourism knows him as El Presidente. Y'all know who it is. With a very special guest with us this morning, Mr. Jason Beck. What do you have for us today, my man?
Oh, yeah. Good morning, Rico. Happy Election Day every day, everybody. Today, my story, that's right, comes out of High Times, where High Times Holding Corp. and HT Red LLC, a wholly owned subsidiary of High Times, bought MXY Holdings Incorporated, also known as Moxie Holdings. In an all-stock deal, Moxie's is known for cultivating, producing, manufacturing, distributing, and selling cannabis products in the state of California. The deal grants 1,363,654 shares of High Times voting common stock to the Moxie organization and includes Moxie's 11,000 square foot manufacturing facility as well as a 46,000 square foot of flowering canopy cultivation, which is capable of producing up to 3,500 pounds of dry flower and more than 25,000 pounds of fresh frozen cannabis for High Times and its associated branded products each year. High Times stock does not trade publicly, nor is there a market for trading the private stock at this time. The company has planned to go public for years, but has not yet to do so. High Times also states in its stock offering that the stock could potentially never trade. The shares were given a par value of, get ready for this, everybody, 0.001 cent, which would make the value of this deal at $1,363,000.65. With our current platforms of stores, we believe this acquisition will be synergistic in nature of the Moxie brands and provide a good home for their branded products in California. Paul Henderson, the chief executive officer of High Times, noted additionally, it will provide High Times with a cultivation and production team that has won dozens of previous cannabis cups and their awards across the country. Moxie has been a leading brand in the recreational and medical cannabis scene since our founding, which made it non-negotiable that any acquisition agreement was done with an organization that shares our commitment to creating the highest quality cannabis products that are trusted by consumers and regulators, said Jordan Lamb, CEO, who we also have today with us, and founder of Moxie. We believe these values are essential, especially in our current economic climate, for maintaining a strong and prosperous industry. High Times is one of the most recognizable brands in cannabis, and we have the utmost confidence in their ability to continue Moxie's upward trajectory in California. The combination creates a vertically integrated business model that allows for more control and provides High Times with the freedom to make product-driven decisions that we know will help the freedom to make product-driven decisions that we know the industry and will provide to recreational and medical cannabis users with the highest quality cannabis products. In addition, High Times entered into a separate management services agreement, each of Pure California, Moxie, Sapphire, and Calaveras, under which High Times agreed to manage those businesses pending the final closing of the transactions completed by the purchase agreements and upon receipt of regulatory approvals. High Times will pay all of the expenses of these entities in consideration of such services. High Times will receive all of the revenues and profits, if any, from such businesses during the term of such management services agreement. And there is one little quote and also in this where it talks about this little bit of financial peril, where it says High Times is making an acquisition at the time the company is paying its debt. It is in default on the debt surrounding the company's original acquisition 5 years ago, and High Times also is involved in numerous lawsuits, the most recent of which was the claim that the previous sellers owed the company $10 million, saying it wasn't truthful during the acquisition negotiations, that the group led by Eleanora Kennedy actually sued High Times first for not paying what it owed on the acquisition of High Times magazine. Well, nonetheless, that's enough of that story. We have Jordan Lambs with us. I want to talk with him for a minute. Jordan Lambs is the co-founder and CEO of Moxie. And so, Jordan, I have to ask you, are you happy with this deal with High Times? What are your thoughts about this?
Yeah, we're pretty excited about it. When we were taking a look at the California market the last couple of years, the writing was on the wall a while ago that the structure of the market overall, just the cost of the regulatory burden and increasing competition, it's only going to be a sustainable marketplace through consolidation. So we've looked for a long time for someone that had enough of a compelling footprint of retail brick and mortar stores where we could bolt on our cultivation and manufacturing and brands to really be accretive to margin. As we all know, California is starving for margin. And so we've done about 3 deep dives into potential transactions like this, and High Times ended up being the one that would work. They've done a good job in the last couple of years where M&A has been incredibly tough, especially in California. There's no cash out there and everybody wants to cash out and take their chips and go home. And in that weird time, they've been able to amass, quite a few stores, now picking up the Lounge in West Hollywood. And so we see it as being a really good fit. We'll be able to add in the products that we're already producing today. The more that we increase our production capacity, there's a non-linear impact to gross margin when you do that. And they got a lot more coming in the pipeline. So yeah, we're excited about it. We're happy with the deal. And, this is just for a few of our assets in California. So it also allows us to, use our other capital resources to continue driving further into other markets throughout the United States.
Amazing.
Jordan, I definitely, I want to ask because I've been paying attention. I've been watching the industry. I've watched High Times fumble the fucking ball so many times over the past 5 years. It's remarkable, Jordan. So to me, you're playing in my, if I'm looking from the outside, and now mind you, I saw and I kind of participated in the Have a Heart negotiations. Like I told you before, I was a part of the Halo. Like I've been watching on an internal level I do due diligence. Private equity hires me to do due diligence on businesses. I would have advised against this 100,000 times over. And so my mind is fucking blown right now. I would have been like, fucking get in your car and drive as fast as you can, Jordan. Go, save yourself. But you're telling me that you did a bunch of great research and that it's there, but I brought some money that I'd like to offer to buy something else from you. I'm not really sure what you're willing to sell me, but I brought this. It's my funny money. I just went ahead and wrote it with my Sharpies right now. But like my mind is blown. Like High Times has literally, I love them. They are one of the most reputable brands across the world when it comes to like weed. But when it comes to actually operating these businesses, like I strongly disagree with you that they have, a foundation. They have a footprint, but I don't believe they have a foundation.
I wouldn't disagree that they're building the foundation, and that's a big point behind the transaction is that we give them sort of a bedrock to stand on.
Bro, you need to teach them how to be businessmen.
What's
business
that?
People. You need to teach them how to be business people. Like how to actually operate these businesses in a lot of situations. Like John Capetta can't carry the fucking clout for the company for the rest of time. Like we got to get some more people that actually understand what the fuck's going on in there. So I'm hopeful. And I think Moxie actually might be a feather in High Times' cap. I think they needed you more than you needed them is my personal opinion.
Well, a good marriage is one where everybody needs each other. And I think that's definitely the case here. As a standalone distributor and wholesaler, there's not like a great horizon out there in the California marketplace. And margins are getting continually compressed. And even when you can make money selling product, the bigger issue is getting paid. I mean, as we all know in the industry, cash flow is tight and you can sell tons of product. But if you look at the companies that are out there today that are pumping big revenue in California, they also have a really blown out AR. And when you get to, the next year and you have to write down those reserves, all that missed receipts turns into losses.
What if all this raises turns into fraud at the end of the day too? What if we never actually go public and you essentially just sold your company for $1,000?
Well, going public doesn't have to be the outcome. That's part of the justification for why this makes sense, because to your point, they need us, we need them. Well, the margin's going to come and a sustainable business is going to be built by having a vertical footprint where you're merchandising your own shelves with the products that you produce, which miraculously in the great state of California has not come to fruition with any of the groups that have, tried to do this type of consolidation effort. What I appreciate about the way the High Times has done is they've done it incredibly entrepreneurial. The quality of the deals that they've gotten to add these retail stores is a level of prowess and M&A that we couldn't achieve, which is why we had to look for a transaction like this and why it made sense for them too. Had we been able to be as convincing and aggressive in acquiring stores of our own, maybe we would have continued to chart our own path in California. But this is the first of many to come. There's still a lot of people out there holding out for that cash exit, and those aren't out there. Unfortunately, not at this time in the marketplace, at least. Maybe after today, things will change, Jason. But, in the meantime, we'll see. Yeah, we'll see.
I don't think you're going to something out at all until we get federal legalization. I don't care what passes. I don't know what happens in the lame duck. But until you have real legalization, no one's going to have a major cash out.
Oh, no, I heard a rumor today that nothing's passing during the lame duck.
Well, I'm not going to. We can stick to this story. You want to talk later, Jason Beck? I'll tell you what I know. I'm
always happy to talk with you, Gretchen. Yes, all the time.
Jordan, what happened with the whole Kronos, the $300 million investment with them? How did that fall apart?
So that was with Green Growth Brands, actually, not Kronos, back in, was that 2018 or 19? Yeah. So we entered into a transaction with them, and they subsequently filed for CCAA protection after their well dried up. Theirs was probably one of the earlier ones to stop being able to go back to the Canadian capital markets for additional funds. And so luckily we were able to get out of that transaction and not get forced into closing it. And that was kind of that. Just one other step in the crazy journey that is cannabis.
Right.
Wow.
And you guys don't have any like qualms about like High Times like repeating that or echoing like anything similar to what happened?
Well, all M&A has risk. I mean, there's just no way around that, especially in cannabis, where it's not as though you can sign a deal and really be done with it. You've got months after, executing documents where you have to wait on, regulatory approvals and a number of other things to actually close a deal. So there's always risk. That being said, this is something we've talked about since before High Times entered the actual plant touching side of the business. It was, probably 2016 or 17 when we sat down and said, look, this is what we think would be a great use of the High Times brand. It's a retail brand. It's an aggregator of people who love cannabis and a trusted source for good information on that. So we said that should be the store. And then you get the brands and the manufacturers and you fill those shelves up and try to do, an aggregation of those types of assets over time. I think they frankly exceeded expectations in what they were able to do in pretty tumultuous times, internally and broader in the entire marketplace. So, and then, again, it frees us up to not have to focus so much time and attention on one wholesale market and be able to use resources where California is very resource intensive, both capital and human resource, and be able to focus where there's other marketplaces to exercise on opportunity. And it's also kind of continuing a trend, and, to touch on the point of the value of stock, Nicole, we did a deal with a major MSO for another state, very similar kind of deal. We sold just assets in one state to one of the major MSOs. And shortly after we announced that deal, the stock skyrocketed to $51. And we were, very, very happy with that. By the time, restrictions and all of that came undone, the stock had fallen to, I think it's, right around $11 today. So no matter how good the company is, how well it trades, how well capitalized there are, we're all still kind of boats out on the ocean.
Jordan, I did want to say I'm impressed with the things that you guys have done. I was absolutely astonished that this was a decision that you guys would have made. I thought that, in my personal opinion, as somebody who's helped raise money and kind of been doing due diligence, you guys did have other options, but to ride with what I would say is one of the more recognizable brands in the world for cannabis. And yes, Gretchen, you did correct. Not the most reputable, most recognizable, 100% correct. And I do think that, what you guys have been doing has been impressive over the years. And I hope and I wish for you guys to have nothing but success. And I'm hopeful that this is the thing that rises the ship over at High Times. And I hope that you guys can actually bring back the culture that once was High Times, and that Capetta doesn't have to keep carrying it all on his back.
Oh, yeah. Without a doubt, my sentiments are very similar, Jordan. We wish you all nothing but the best and major success over at Moxie, and now with your joint venture with California with High Times. And so, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your time with us and talking about this today. So, thank you so much, Jordan.
Thank you, Jordan.
Guys.
Yes, coming up next. That's right. She's a cannabis business consultant, an industry veteran, and a bullshit buster. That's right. As well as a self-proclaimed general overall data bitch, boasting over 13 years in the regulated market, but with deep roots in the legacy industry as well. So much deep industry roots that she did some time for a cannabis crime. It is none other than the Nicole West.
Good morning. Good morning. Today, our headlines, there is a lot of movement on the corporate level, on the investment level. And my headline today is coming out of Green Market Report in regards to the Q3 earnings call that just happened at Weedmaps when Chris Beals steps down. The new Weedmaps CEO steps down as losses mount. Weedmaps Technology has lost $10.5 million in the Q3 this year, a drastic downturn from last year. WM Technologies on the NASDAQ as MAPS posted a $10.5 million loss in the third quarter this year, a drastic downturn from a year ago. That was accompanied by the departure of the longtime CEO, Chris Beals. Revenues for the quarter held relatively steady at $50.5 million compared to the $50.9 million revenue from the year prior. Co-founder and executive chairman Doug Francis will step back into the role of CEO and as post as he held before Beals, which I am very excited about. As somebody who used to work at Weedmaps years ago when Doug was in charge back then, that is the best thing that I could possibly imagine for the Weedmaps culture to be able to get back to what they're actually all about. While in-market conditions have been challenging, we've been executing a higher level of getting more focused and streamlined, Francis said in the release, along noting that the company has evolved significantly since its founding 14 years ago. We have significant opportunities to expand our moats and to build future rails for the cannabis industry while working to get back the operating culture of driving a profitable growth and cash flow. This year has not been kind to Weed Maps, the dispensary finder website primary revenue driver for parent company WM Technology. Year to date, WM Technology lost $21.8 million, a stark contrast to the same period of 2021 when the company had turned a profit of $73.7 million, according to the Q3 earnings. Although the company's user base has grown 5,576 paying clients for the third quarter of 2022 compared to the 4,444, the same of last quarter, the average revenue per client is down $3,019 for the quarter as contrasted to the $3,817 per client in 2021. Weedmaps Technology isn't expecting a turnaround anytime soon either with the leadership change. We expect a year-over-year decline in the low double-digit percentage area of fourth quarter revenue, and as the company stated in the release. Weedmaps Technology stock prices is at its all-time low when the level went public last June, currently trading at $1.83. Now, when Weedmaps went public, I believe the stock went out at $43.50. I did buy some shares, so I did lose my ass on that. I did used to work at Weedmaps, so this is something that's very interesting to me. I've been kind of watching the progression. I worked at Weedmaps in 2012, just a few years after inception, and I was also paying client number 0003. So I've not only been a paying client of Weedmaps since the beginning, I was a part of the turnover from the free to the paid listing as a client. I later went to go work for them when they got when my business got shut down. I went to work for them and I ended up being a sales rep and helping launch marijuana.com. I've seen the transition in the movement. I couldn't expect that they could grow too much more in the markets that they're currently in. I do believe as new markets start to open up, Weedmaps will find its penetration in those markets and we'll be able to get more. But I am kind of happy to see that the cost per unit is going down per user. That is something that obviously a lot of small businesses have been being held out to dry over. Now I know there's a lot of chaos in regards to their holding us over the coals on the price points because they are very expensive. Weedmaps is a data technology platform that is basing all of their prices off of traffic and hits. So there's a big, ego in the back end where they can say, okay, fine, then just don't pay us, so you just don't pay them. But I'm pretty excited to see Doug coming back. I'm hopeful that this is going to actually shift things up. I do think that there is a lot of money being wasted at Weedmaps over the past year. I've been to a few events and I've talked to a few people. I'm like, what the fuck do you do for the company? And, very high paid people that have no concept of what they're actually doing. I recently met somebody who got hired in. I don't think she works there anymore. That was their social person and their social outreach person, and she was so devoid of concept of what was actually going on in the cannabis industry. It was sad. There are some really great people that are still there. I definitely have some friends that I think I'll be fans of forever that are at Weedmaps, and Doug is one of those people that I'm pretty proud to say that I know, and I'm really hopeful that he's able to bring it back. But also I'd like to hear the cloak and the daggers coming from everyone on in the audience or on the stage about Weedmaps and what your thoughts are on this new transition and the $10 million loss that Weedmaps has reported this year. And I'm Nicole West, getting high at 9 with y'all.
So I definitely agree that they've made some interesting hiring moves and brought in some positions that are just some of the conventions I've gone to, I've just been like, wait, what the fuck do you do for Weedmaps? Like your position's necessary there? Oh, okay. Interesting. Anyways,
are they still under investigation?
They're always under investigation, bro. And most of their investigations are based on the clients. 9 times out of 10, the investigations are based on the clients. So that's the fun part.
So they should be, saying they should be doing more due diligence before signing checks or cashing checks.
Which they've definitely picked up on.
Better.
Yeah, they've gotten a lot better at that. And I just want to take a quick second to shout out Chris Beals. He's been with that company for 7.5 years. He's done. I don't think any of us can disagree. Chris has done a great job.
Chris has. Shout out to Chris Beals.
I'm a big fan of Chris Beals.
But it's really exciting to see Doug taking the helm again. This is Doug's baby, and Doug had the original vision for Ghost Company way back in the day. And it's going to be super cool to see them see what he's going to be able to do and take with it. And Weedmaps has made a lot of strategic acquisitions from the software space as well over the past year, which I think you're going to start seeing revenue numbers hit hard for them on some of these things that they've acquired, retooled, like brought on V2 or added a bunch of new design to. It's going to be really cool to see what comes out of Weed Maps in 2023. I think their biggest issue that they're going to have to face is dealing with some of these newer East Coast markets that don't like Weed Maps. It's become, I think, public knowledge that New York does not like Weed Maps that much, which is really sad because I know that Weed Maps has busted their ass to really show up a presence in New York. And a special shout out to, I think, what's causing that revenue per unit to drop down over $800 is they're putting a ton of investment into social equity.
Well,
that's really cool to see.
I think a big reason why emerging markets and that are better at business traditionally do not like Weed Maps because the value proposition is not the same. If you hop in the DeLorean, go back 5 years ago from now, any cannabis company here in California is like, oh yeah, I'm spending $5,000 to $10,000 a month on Weed Maps. You're not giving enough data on the other end of that equation. Your investors are asking you, why the fuck are you spending so much on this company? Like, just to put a pin drop on the map, and now technology has caught up to that, and other competitors have caught up to that, and the value prop just is not the same.
I can disagree with that heavily because I can actually equate in LA, in Orange County, and in San Diego, the dollar for dollar value of the difference of what the stores are turning that are paying for a gold, silver, or bronze listing as opposed to those that are not.
It's the data. I'm not saying it doesn't work. I'm saying the data that they give back is you don't have a full quantifiable return.
But you can. If you can say I spent $10,000 and I got 10,000 customers, you have that data in and that data out, and they are actually
like what happened in between there. Like, yes, I put out this ad, but yes, you did a bunch of other things within your marketing plan. Where did all the rest of that money go? How much of these dollars, especially right now when we're dealing with hyperinflation, how much of those dollars that I spent on Weed Maps actually gave me a quantifiable return? You can
see that yourself. You can.
Well,
yes, you can.
I just have to ask the number one question I think that everybody watching wants to know. Okay, are you guys ready for this? Is Doug gonna bring Justin back?
No, Justin's off enjoying his life. I don't think Justin wants to come back. I don't think Justin will ever want to come back. But with that said, thank you all for entertaining my story. Definitely something that I hope that we continue to follow. And I think that we will, like Ed said, start seeing a lot of those acquisitions that Chris made start to turn profits. And it will be a much better year in a couple of years with some of the technologies that are going to be being rolled out. So up next, we have Rico Lamitte. Rico Lamitte's the dope dad on the street, founder of Cannavision Global, the guy who's out here trying to regularly remind you that being a dad and smoking the reefer can go hand in hand, and you can still be a great big papa. What do you have for us today, Rico?
Y'all hear me?
Yep.
All right.
Go for it.
If my story will pop out here. So.
Hello? Rico?
Rico's
Are
lost.
you there?
Rico, you all right?
Rico, are you there?
Yeah, my story.
Hi.
Give me 1 second.
What?
My story is not popping out here. I'm gonna read it over here. It's fine. All right. Thank you, Nicole. Keep things rolling under the same theme for this election day, investment focused Taco Bout It Tuesday, where all the headlines so far have brought the spice. Mine's actually a report from Viridian Capital published by Benzinga. Consolidation is inevitable in the fragmented cannabis industry. Joe Biden said there ain't a recession. He also said that because of his pardon, thousands of records would be automatically expunged for federal possession. I'm just saying. But in a recession, it's tough for companies to maintain growth because consumers are more picky about what and when they buy products due to lack of expendable cash. One of the most popular ways for them to continue, just as Jordan Lamb said in our first segment with Jason Beck, consolidation. This is why you'll see some of the most unlikely competitors joining forces to survive via mergers and acquisitions. The biggest companies go on shopping sprees, buying smaller distressed brands at deep discounts, struggling to keep the lights on. A few major M&A moves that went down in 2020 you may or may not have seen because there was a lot going on that year, you know. T-Mobile actually bought Sprint. Amazon bought AMC Theaters. Morgan Stanley bought E-Trade. And Uber bought Grubhub, becoming Uber Eats. As cannabis inches its way forward toward federal legalization, a massive wave of consolidation will rise, leaving the industry a mere shadow of what it was. To survive, many will need to position themselves to scale production, marketing, and logistics in anticipation of interstate and possibly even international commerce. Both aren't a thing yet legally, but they will be soon. Viridian says in the beer industry, there will always be thousands of craft cannabis companies, but the share of revenues earned by the largest competitors is likely to double over the next 5 years. While we all know that weed is not beer, but there's several structural similarities that cannot be ignored, and why I believe that the argument actually holds weight. The U.S. cannabis industry generated $25 billion in revenue in 2021. 20% of that, or $5 billion, was accounted for by the 6 largest U.S. MSOs. No single competitor accounted for even 5% of the total sum. In 2021, about 9,900 small cannabis companies with average revenues of 1.6 million made up 60% of the total industry sales, whereas in beer, 9,100 craft labels accounted for just 27%. In order for cannabis firms to survive, necessary scale of business will increase. Crazy amounts of cash will be needed to establish and maintain national brands, to map out distribution systems, to establish strategically located production facilities in low tax markets. Craft cannabis is not prepared for all of that. Where are they going to find that money? New giants. The new giants will appear, most from big alcohol, tobacco, and pharma. All well prepared to spend on ailing weed companies limping along off hype in a fragmented industry fighting amongst themselves, refusing to see the big picture. Per the article, the average enterprise value of a top 5 alcoholic beverage company is about $23 billion, more than 4 times the size of the largest MSO. Similarly, the smallest of the big 3 tobacco firms has an enterprise value of more than twice as large as all cannabis companies combined. But also, the average valuation multiple for the largest MSOs is more than twice that of tier 3 competitors, implying an enormous cost of capital advantage, making it nearly impossible for smaller companies to maintain growth. Constellation Brands drew first blood back in 2018, dropping $4 billion into canopy growth, and despite the industry's volatility amounting to loss after quarterly loss for the Canadian giant, they held. Altria put $1.8 billion into Kronos Group back in 2019 for 45% ownership and maintains their ownership as well. December 2021, Pfizer shocked the world in announcing that they'd be acquiring San Diego-based Arena Pharmaceuticals for $6.7 billion. The deal is completed early this March. The writing's been on the wall for quite some time now, and it's why smaller cannabis companies need to be smarter than ever about handling their cash, consumer engagement, keeping up with compliance, making sure they don't have data leaks, and more open to work with past foes if they want to survive. M&A season is here, and like it or not, the giants are ready, waiting on the other side of that wall. This is Rico Lamitte, dopest dad on the street, and I'd love to hear what the rest of the team has to say about this one.
How do we stop this trend? That I'm concerned.
You're out
Capitalism.
of luck. It's happening, Nicole. There's no stopping this trend. And I love how you say that they're waiting for something to happen. It's going to be one day they'll be like, oh, I feel like buying something. And they could buy the whole damn industry if they wanted. This is not like,
it'll be on the day of federal legalization.
They're going to be like, oh, all right, let's just do this. I mean.
So I worked for RJ Reynolds right out of college in 2008. And they were already trying to figure out what it would look like in 2008. To be a part of the cannabis industry. That was an active part of like research market that they were doing in 2008. So I mean, fuck, it's been like a lifetime since then. Imagine how far they are in 14 years.
I can tell you
I guess
personally.
I asked the wrong question. Sorry, Ed.
Go ahead, Nicole.
I guess I asked the wrong question. How do we keep small craft growers alive? That we can't stop this train from moving forward. And
they need to bind together and make themselves a great target. Sorry,
there's 2 ways I see this going, and one of them scares the ever living crap out of me. And I've had a lot of involvement with the people who would make it go that way, and have seen kind of the war plans laid out in a way. But there's one of 2 ways this will go. This will either go deeper down the pharmaceutical rabbit hole, or this will turn into just another ATF, we'll end up with a CATF or an ATFC or something to that extent.
I mean, if you
cannabis, the pharma side is what's scary as hell, is because that is the entry to barrier, or the barrier to entry is so friggin' high, and with all the FDA overregulation, it's going to be absolutely insane, and the small craft grower at that point will die.
That barrier
but if it goes the other side, I think we can use the resurgence of craft beer and small micro wineries to really show like the craft industry is alive and strong, and I hope for hell it goes that direction.
Until we have federal descheduling and interstate trade, the craft grower is going to be hard pressed.
I think Nicole, the craft grower really needs
taco trucks.
The craft
I like
grower,
taco trucks over Taco Bell, and I think that's the answer. We stop buying the corporate weed.
No one's going to stop buying Taco Bell.
The craft grower really needs.
Go ahead, Gretchen.
What the fuck?
No, go ahead, Gretchen.
Sorry, Gretchen.
The craft grower needs to double down on their base. They need to be working with their communities, the folks that enjoy their brand now, and really work on cementing their relationships and showing how they are a value and a benefit to their communities. So communities will want to keep them, support them, and that's how you're going to keep a craft grower above an MSO coming in. I mean, that's what people want. They want to take care of the small business, and they want to take care of what's down the street from them. They don't want to bring in a big boy if they have to. If you're a real lover of cannabis and the product, you're absolutely going to go towards the craft that you love. One thing we have learned from the years is that cannabis consumers are very loyal to products that they like. And so
if we look at food, you're going to see, you can see where the world will go. Food exists in the same exact way. You go to the grocery store, you understand that about 15% of people give a shit about what they're putting in their body. The rest of them do not. That's how it's all going to shake out. And so there will be that.
Continue to shop at farmers market and stop. I've stopped shopping at grocery store for about 4 years now. So
it's important to make sure that the people that are trying to grow quality product understand that their market is 15% of the industry. And that's something that people need to grasp. Like, are you going for the 85%, which is Coors Light, or are you going for the $23 bottle of Saison? I buy a $23 bottle of Saison. I don't drink a lot of beer, but when I do, I buy nice fucking beer. And so I'm that consumer to this day. Even when I fucking lived, next to the Coors Light facility, I buy the expensive beer.
And Nicole B, like my thoughts on it is you have California, we had 26 years of quasi legalization out here. You have a lot of legacy markets out here on the West Coast, and the newer emerging markets, they're almost all driven by MSOs. So it's two totally different Americas when it comes to cannabis industry, the way we see it right now. I think that one thing that can happen is people learn how to grow their own shit. Period. You learn how to grow your own shit. You learn how to actually pop those seeds and actually cultivate on your own. And maybe we can have a thriving farmers market, at some point. But I don't know. Like in the near term, it's just going to be.
You guys are living
that.
In a fantasy.
That is a great for us to segue to our. I gotta do our disclaimer. We're at time on that. Thank you so much for that story, Rico. I definitely think that we need to continue that. And you're right. Farming and growing your own food is the biggest act of resistance we can have. So the thoughts and opinions in general shade thrown on the High at 9 News with those individual speakers, and not those of any other speaker or its followers. The statements made are not constitute legal or accounting advice, and our speakers make no representation regarding the legal status in country, substance, area, territory, or authority. The views expressed in this room do not establish fiduciary relationships. Our sponsors do not imply constant endorsement of us, expression of any opinion whatsoever, any speaker, anyone on stage. If you're an easily offended person, the show's probably not for you. Also, maybe it's time to buy some cannabis stocks.
Flying into LAX and you want to taste some of the best weed in the world, then stop by LAXCC, the closest dispensary to LAX, located at 8332 Lincoln Boulevard and open from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. 7 days a week. Always make LAXCC your first stop when you touch down in LA and score like a winner. And don't forget to tell them I sent you and mention you'd like to get High at 9 for 10% off your full order.
She's well known in underground DC circles for cooking up excellent, especially on election day. But don't be fooled by that, Abram. She's a spicy, red-headed conservative, never backing down from a debate with pop-loving libs across the aisle, with a proven long-form Mayflower roots and highly questionable love for safe banking. Coming to the stage next, the founder of Panoptic Strategies and our very own Washington insider, Gretchen Gailey. Happy election day. What you got for us?
Happy election day, Rico. I would like to remind everyone to get out and vote. I don't care who you vote for, just vote. My headline today is coming from Marijuana Moment. GOP lawmakers file resolution pressing White House to help U.S. citizen imprisoned in Russia over medical marijuana. FYI, we're not talking about Brittany Griner. 3 GOP congressional lawmakers filed a resolution on Thursday that seeks to put additional pressure on the Biden administration to escalate efforts to free a U.S. citizen and registered Pennsylvania medical cannabis patient who's imprisoned in Russia over marijuana possession. The resolution of inquiry, sponsored by Reps Guy Rushenthaler, Glenn Thompson, and Mike Kelly, would formally request all White House documents related to the State Department's review of Mark Fogel's case to understand why he hasn't been designated as a wrongfully detained person, as WNBA player Brittany Griner has been for a similar conviction in Russia. Members of Pennsylvania's congressional delegation have been especially active advocates for increased White House attention to Fogel's case. The American teacher was sentenced to 14 years in Russian prison for low-level marijuana possession. Last week, more than 24 bipartisan members of Congress, including Rushenthaler, Thomas, and Kelly, urged the State Department to escalate diplomatic efforts to secure the release of Fogel in a separate letter. Now the 3 Republican lawmakers are seeking the passage of a resolution to specifically obtain from the administration's copies of all documents, memoranda, advisory legal opinions, notes from meetings, audio recordings, including telephone records, correspondence, including electronic mail records, and other communications that refer to information related to the review conducted by the Department of State of the statutory criteria for Mark Fogel to be designated as wrongfully detained. Rushenthaler said in a press release that his experience as a former district and Navy judge means that he knows when I'm being stonewalled. It is indisputable Mark Fogel meets the definition of wrongfully detained under the Levinson criteria. Yet as his health rapidly deteriorates ahead of his transfer to a hard labor penal colony, the Biden administration is still making excuses rather than following the letter of the law. They owe Congress an explanation for their inaction. What's been noticeable about the advocacy for Fogel's release is how many lawmakers from across the political spectrum have specifically recognized his status as a registered medical cannabis patient in Pennsylvania. Advocates have also acknowledged the medical cannabis patient status of Griner, who is classified as a wrongfully detained person and whose recent appeal of a 9-year prison sentence over cannabis possession was rejected by a Russian court. As the Russian government continues its hostilities towards Americans, we must have complete access to the full report regarding Mr. Fogel's detainment, trial, and sentencing. It's imperative the State Department exhaust all efforts to return him to his family here in the United States. Fogel is reported to have been transferred to an undisclosed penal colony, and his family says they've lost contact with him, according to the Daily Mail. The White House has said in July it's actively investigating Fogel's case, and lawmakers have been keeping the pressure on to ensure it's doing all that it can to secure his release. In addition to his grossly disproportionate 14-year sentence to a Russian maximum security penal colony, Mark's case certainly meets several of the other established criteria to be considered wrongfully detained. With this resolution, it is my hope that the State Department will elevate this case, properly designate Mark as wrongfully detained, and work to secure his timely release for Mark, his Western Pennsylvania family, and supporters across the globe. I would like to call on Joe Biden to give a fuck about Mark Fogel, just like he's supposedly caring about Brittany Griner. I don't know what the fuck these people are doing, but they're leaving my Western Pennsylvania brother sitting over in Russia, and frankly, because he can't dunk a basketball. This is Gretchen for High at 9 News.
Oh, the politics are live and well on this.
Yes.
Live and well.
About it Tuesday.
Yeah. And you said it was some GOP lawmakers that are advocating for this, right?
When did he get detained or arrested?
He was last summer. So not a couple months ago, but a year.
And this is the teacher, right? The teacher?
Yes, he's a teacher, yes.
Gretchen, would Jared
so he's
Fogel
been there 2 years.
Would Gerald Fogel, would he even be mentioned right now if it wasn't for the hubbub of Brittany Griner?
Well, first off, his name is Mark Fogel. So maybe people would care about him. No one would care about him at all. No one's been paying attention to this poor guy.
What did he have?
True.
What was his possession amount?
Yeah, what did he have on him?
I would have to go back and figure out.
I think if I remember, I think he had like an ounce.
He
had like an ounce or something, or maybe like an eighth or something.
He had
he was from Washington State and had like a bag in his bag. Didn't realize that it had it in it, and he got caught with it. Or at least that's his story.
Into Russia. Okay.
Yes, correct. Yes, a green
He's a
leafy
medical
substance,
cannabis
Nicole, not
patient.
just a cartridge full of Delta 8.
Yeah,
And they have thrown his name around
yeah.
before when being associated with Griner and the possibility of, I forget who the horrible guy is. So 2-for-1 deal is kind of what
Oh
they've been
yeah,
looking at.
the arms dealer,
Yeah.
the mercenary of menace.
But other than that, now he's like in some gulag in Siberia, never to be heard from again.
20 grams.
Yeah,
He had 20 grams.
Yeah, I think like he will be benefit from. I mean, if they get released, I'm saying like he'll be benefit from like her popularity. Like, unfortunately, that's America puts celebrity on a pedestal that they shouldn't be on. Like that's just the truth of the matter. There's America.
Very true. We got to keep it going though. We got to keep it going. Thank you so much for covering this, Gretchen. We appreciate it, and we wish Mark Fogel as well as Brittany Grenier to be returned to their families safely.
Why do people always turn her into some French chick?
Whatever, Grenier.
Griner. Pronounce her name right, bro. Pronounce her fucking name right. It's when you know better. When you know better, do better. Griner.
What is it?
Griner.
Don't do that.
There you go.
It's like grinder without the D.
Yeah, you're familiar with Grindr. Just take out the D.
I'm not familiar with Grindr. That's not my kind of an app. But nonetheless, she's a cannabis patient, a plant medicine advocate, also the founder of Purple Plant Magic, national brand ambassador for Black Buddha Cannabis, and the Encyclopedia on Power 88 in Las Vegas, Nevada, every Wednesday morning. It is none other than the Nicole Buffon.
Thank you, Jason, for that lovely introduction. Good morning, everyone. Happy Election Day. Please, one thing I definitely agree with my sister Gretchen on is get out and vote today. Doesn't matter who you're voting for, just do it. Assert your right. People have died, and you need to recognize the privilege you have to actually vote. Okay, my headline today: Oakland launches inaugural Equity Week to spotlight local cannabis equity businesses. In 2017, the city of Oakland made history by becoming the first jurisdiction in the county to launch a cannabis equity program, which helps those disproportionately impacted by the war on drugs enter the cannabis industry and build local businesses. Cannabis products made by equity operatives have suffered from a lack of consumer awareness and marketing, which in turn has discouraged retailers from carrying equity brands with adequate shelf space and visibility on online menus. Now, in an effort to raise awareness of equity businesses and help them survive and thrive, Oakland is launching its inaugural Equity Week celebration November 14th through the 18th. During Equity Week, select Oakland dispensaries will be offering special deals on products from Oakland equity brands. Since the legalization of the adult use of cannabis, it has been difficult for self-funded local businesses, particularly for Oaklanders coming from economically disadvantaged backgrounds. With limited access to capital, a combination of high taxes and complex regulations have forced many to leave the industry or work in the unregulated market, opening the door for highly funded corporations to move into Oakland's cannabis market. When you buy from an equity brand, you are buying excellent cannabis products while helping your fellow Oaklanders, said Greg, assistant to the city administrator and manager of the Special Activities Permit Division. Oakland has a deeply rooted history of supporting its own and social justice. Equity Cannabis is the next chapter in our story. Please go to makegreengo.com to learn more about these businesses. I want to name them really quick, just so that if you're in the Oakland area, please go check them out. The dispensaries are Ivy Hill, Nug Store, Ohana, Rooted in the 510, and Rosemary Jane. And the brands are The Bomb, Mott Apothecary, Next Level, Chiefing, Conscious Minds, Dolo Rolling Company, and Tatsuko Happy Trail is the name of that last brand. The city of Oakland has funded grants and loans to Oakland equity applicants by reinvesting local cannabis tax revenues and through state grants and the Department of Cannabis Control. The city council determined that access to capital was needed to assist historically marginalized cannabis operators, given the lack of personal wealth in low-income communities and federal restrictions on banking. To qualify as an Oakland equity applicant, a business entity must be at least 50% controlled by an Oakland resident who makes less than 80% of the average median income and either has a cannabis conviction arising out of Oakland or has lived in Oakland police with the highest levels of cannabis enforcement for 10 of the last 20 years. I'm grateful to see Oakland doing this for its social equity brands. I think every state, every city could really put more focus on this journey and story of these brands to keep them alive. This is how we support the small craft growers. These brands are the epitome of that. And so I'm grateful to see this happen. This is Nicole Buffon reporting for High at 9 News. I'd love to hear what my fellow correspondents have to say about the story.
Did you say Chiefing was one of those brands?
Yeah. Chiefing is one of those brands.
Chiefing is very interesting because Chiefing is the only social equity license that was issued to a Native American, the only Native American in the country social equity applicant. So shout out to Chiefing. A lot.
This is a very diverse list. We've got Asian Americans here, women, of course, and the first Asian American. I saw that. The article goes deeper into the story behind each brand, and so you can learn more if you read that article. It's a really great article.
Is the city of Oakland giving any of these brands any kind of tax credits for this holiday?
Not for that.
Because they should be.
I don't think for the holiday. I think it's great. Make Green Go has been doing great things. I first partnered with them back in 2017, and it was an unofficial equity week back then, and it's been doing excellent things every single year, leveling up. So if anybody can support the city of Oakland, what they're doing with the Equity Week and try to replicate that within your own cities, please look to do that. Support your local brands, support equity brands, and just try to do your best to just like look out for the industry, man. These are the people who have been living in the shadows forever, and they took a huge risk coming out into the light and to do this, and you're under that much more of a gun when you're black or brown in this industry, or when you're gay in this industry, when you're a woman in this industry. And what the city of Oakland has done to take those steps, like nobody else has really done it on that level. And you just got to applaud them for doing it. Whether it works in the long term or not, it doesn't matter. We got to make sure that we're supporting these people. So thank you for covering this, Nicole.
Yeah, of course. I'm grateful to see this happening too, really, honestly. And it's easy to duplicate in any city, wherever you are. Support those small brands. Support them. Support the brands that have been before the regulated market.
I am noticing too on this list, they're not listing some of the ones that what I would call kind of like that predatory gifting social equity. There's a few that technically got social equity licenses that I looked at and I was like, you bitches, like, of course you got a social equity license, but they are not on that list. So I'm glad that they're really actually.
So you're saying that you have vetted this list and you approve? It's Nicole vetted approved list.
Approved.
I have nothing negative to say about any of those brands being like juicing the system.
Wow, look at that.
Yeah, because there's a lot of people using the social equity system to like really, for their advantage. And I don't see any of those people that I know for a fact, like, no, that you guys are abusing this to your advantage. I don't see any of those, which made me really happy. Like, go Oakland.
If there's any place where those assholes would be called out, it's Oakland, because Oakland does not fucking hold back, but they do not hold their tongues at all.
That's true, but they still are there. You know what I mean? It was impossible to keep them out, but like they're not on this list, or they're not a part of the like exalting the brand's part, which makes you feel really good.
Well, Rico, you know, the only thing people be holding in Oakland is holding onto that pistol out there, because that shit is rough out there in them streets.
School. If you're not from Oakland, you better.
I have a question for you, Nicole. Are they doing more than just offering discounts at these dispensaries? Like, is there something kind of actual community outreach and involving other businesses?
There's a campaign to bring more of the backstory around these brands to the public, right? Yeah. So that campaign is going along this as discounts, but also just awareness from what I can see. I mean, making sure.
Well, I applaud their efforts. I would like to see more of a community approach to say, all right, we're going to highlight these brands, but also come out for people who aren't perhaps cannabis enthusiasts to see what these folks are doing in their community. Like, okay, they are right next door to a restaurant where I can go and have dinner and I'm not going to die from secondhand smoke, or there's not small children spilling out of the dispensaries. I think you also need to be able to bring out other people to see what a value that these shops are to their communities. And so I think I'd like this approach, but I'd like to see a bit more to say, yes, they're an integrated part of our community. Yes, we're telling their story, but also they are really a benefit and we want them here.
Gretchen, have you been to Oakland? There's not a lot of places you
I've
can
been
go
to
eat dinner
Oakland.
and not worry about getting shot anymore.
I'm
So
aware.
that part's a little bit hard. Like Oakland has gotten super fucking scary. So
I've been to
like
Oakland
that
more than once.
The community piece of it, like I'm just saying, like the gatherings are dangerous in Oakland right now. So it is a little bit scary. I think.
Get it, but you don't get to take back your community until you're out there doing the work on the streets. I mean, if you don't want to get shot, bring along 100 of your best friends to hang out and have a little picnic in front of the dispensary.
Bring 100 of your friends with pistols too, and have a big old gunfight at the OK Corral in Oakland, California.
Be careful. That's all I'm saying.
Gretchen, what I'm aware is they are, and they have been making this effort. What Zach and LaWanda have done, like with Equity Week, like over the years, it's all about just like bringing money into those businesses right now, because there is no money in those businesses, period. And that's why they're trying to really amplify the messaging and to get people to these businesses right now, because that's what it's about right now. And they have every single year have been talking about what the community needs to do and to support these people. And it just has not happened. There's been a huge shift into the larger.
Well, we're at time on this story, so I got it.
Is what I'm
we are
saying.
at time on this story, so we got to hop. Thank you so much, Nicole, for that. I really appreciate it. We're going to go ahead and let our plane be landed by air traffic control himself, our resident tech guy, the person that I would recommend that all of you have on your phone or friend if you ever end up on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. And the voice of High at 9, Ed is a regulated cannabis industry veteran with 13 years experience across all verticals. He currently works at Blaze as a product manager overseeing their retail software products, and I think he might be landing some planes over at Santa Ana today. What do you have for us today, Ed?
Yeah, the just a quick air traffic report. We're in the reverse pattern over here at John Wayne International Airport in Orange County, right outside my window. But I'm not here to talk about planes. I'm here to talk about technology. I'll say quite fitting, being who I am and what I do. And it's kind of opposite to what Nicole was talking about with Mr. Beal's departure. Again, shout out Chris Beals. We actually have a new hire at another very important industry company, but not important to the consumer really that much. They really don't even recognize them, but I'll tell you, it's important to us as operators and as people who work in the industry. And that is what I'm excited to talk about, is that Metric, our wonderful friends from Lakeland, Florida, Metric folks, they are in the news. They have appointed a new CTO, or Chief Technology Officer, which I can tell you they greatly need. So Metric recently appointed Sam Peterson as the company's new CTO. In his new role, Peterson will support Metric's continued innovation of product offerings and expansion into new markets, according to a press release issued by Metric. He will also lead the company in advancing technology and product initiatives to increase benefits for Metric's state partners, and hopefully their integration partners as well. Speaking a little selfishly there. They say, Metrics goes on to say, the time is now to go all in on the breadth and depth of Metrics offerings. Sam's successful track record of building cutting-edge strategies and delivering exceptional results will take our dynamic platform to new levels and ensure we remain the top choice for our customers, said Metrics CEO Michael Johnson. His valuable expertise will bolster Metrics' unwavering commitment to serving our partner and provide instrumental support to maintain our 100% renewal rate. Peterson joins the company with more than 25 years of experience in technology leadership, including software and product development, as well as software as a service growth strategies, or SaaS for us more technological folks. Most recently, he served as the CTO at Boats Group, which is a Florida-based advertising and software company for the marine industry. Peterson says there is a tremendous opportunity to expand and scale Metrics' transformative solutions and advanced technology to meet the ever-evolving needs of cannabis industry and state regulators. I'm excited to join this talented leadership team to further our position as the most efficient and reliable provider of track and trace technology. So did some research last night and started looking into Mr. Peterson's background. Mr. Peterson is quite the gentleman. He graduated from Brigham and Young University, BYU. And then spent some time in Utah for about 17 years after that. First as a developer for a company called FitnessSoft, and then 13 years, 7 months as the Chief Technology Officer and SVP at Overstock.com. Fun thing you might remember is a nice lady by the name of Stormy Simon, who was the CEO of High Times for a short period of time there. Who also came from Overstock. So kind of interesting connections there. He also served as a CTO and board member of a couple other companies, ranging from translation technologies to advertising technologies to restaurant technologies, and has now arrived at Metric. I can tell you, as somebody who has worked with Metric for pretty much since day one, it was a thing in Colorado, and somebody who's here in the tech industry and integrates with Metric, I'm super excited to see what is going to come from this. I know Metric has been making a lot of effort over the past 3 months to work on what their software stack is and make sure that it deploys better and that it scales better. But they're also doing some community outreach. I don't know about y'all and who's all going to MJ BizCon, but I got an email from Metric saying that they want to hang out and will have a booth at MJ BizCon and will actually be hosting a happy hour at their booth at MJ BizCon. So I'm excited to see that, go and meet and talk to their team in person. I've had some interactions with them previously in past years through email and phone that have been less than savory. So super excited to see these guys, try and actually get things right. It's a very simple service, so it's been interesting to see how poorly it's been done and implemented. But I think that having some good tech leadership like this will really bring forward the opportunity for them to do this right, make it improve, and make the experience a lot better for everybody involved. I'm Ed Schwartz, and I'm reporting here on behalf of High at 9 News Hour.
Real quick, Ed, is that their first CTO ever?
They've had a CTO before, I believe, but I'm pretty sure it was like the person who started everything from scratch with them. Which
how they made it along so far and grown so big without a CTO.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely need the help. I mean, the system, from a technological perspective, is extremely simple. It's just there's a lot of scale that they need to be able to build out, and that's what I think that they faltered on in the past. So I'm excited to see how they can actually scale their service to operate efficiently and with true 100% uptimes. Because if you go to the uptime monitors that my company maintains on the internet about Metric, you'll see that they're not really close to 100% at all.
Well, they have a requirement of uptime of what? 97 is their requirement on.
It depends on the state. So
California, I think it's 97, right?
I can't remember what California's is, but the industry standard for SLA or service level agreements is usually 99.5%, which equates out to, roughly an hour's worth of outage per month, I believe is what it breaks down to. 97% is absurdly low. Really, anything below 99% is basically just like a free pass.
So Ed, I have a question. You said they're going to be hosting a happy hour at MJ BizCon.
Yeah, I'm hoping that not everybody goes and just blows up their spot.
Are they going to be tracking and tracing everyone that comes to their booth?
And will there actually be happiness in that hour?
And I wish people that work for Metric, their business cards was like actual Metric tag.
That would be funny.
I mean? They need to do that. They need to switch it up.
We should tell them that. Well, what a great way to end the show. Let's suggest that Metric turns their business cards into Metric tags. So thank you all for getting high at 9 with us every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific, high noon on the East Coast. Big shout out to our audience and supporters for tuning in daily and listening to the insanity that is the developing cannabis industry. Thank you to the haters for still talking about us, and a huge thank you to True Classic and LAXCC for helping us keep the lights on, and to all of our correspondents for being amazing, and to Cannabis for giving us a reason to do this. 3 is 4. Thank you big time for helping us create a space in this mini-verse. And thank you all for tuning in and getting high at 9 with us.
And make sure you go vote today. Whatever you do, vote a tie.
Vote a tie. Vote.
You are tuned in to the High at 9 News Hour, where you will hear from cannabis industry experts and professionals from around the country talk about important topics while shining light on global issues and discussing cannabis as it relates to politics, regulation and reform, data and technology, science, research and medicine, family and parenting, art, celebs and entertainment, fitness, sports, mental health and wellness, and plant-based medicines and enthogenics. Together, we are building a stronger community, fighting the stigma and creating change. With your hosts, Jason Beck, Rico Lamitte, and Nicole West, joined by special industry expert correspondents from around the country and daily antics brought to you by Cannabis. Coming to you live Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific Time. Thank you for getting high at 9 with us.